Hello, dear friends. It is Dr. Sarah. Thank you so much for joining me today for our video on the other tea tree oil. Today, I want to talk about New Zealand tea tree oil. You've probably heard about all of the benefits of the most common tea tree oil, and it's hard not to sing its praises. It is so versatile, it's potent, it's beloved by so many different people. And I actually highlighted all of the various uses of this famous and popular universal oil in two of my podcasts in a two-part series on tea tree oil. And of course, I will link to those in the video resource section as well as the accompanying article. But today I want to switch a little focus to another family member of tea tree that doesn't get as much attention. And this is because, again, tea tree oil has so many amazing properties and people are familiar with it. I want to talk today about Manuka essential oil. And it's actually known as New Zealand tea tree essential oil based on where it's located and its wide range of traditional uses that parallel the wide range of traditional uses of Melaleuca alternifolia or tea tree oil. And even though it's not a melaleuca oil, it is still related to it. And I'll explain that a little bit later. Now, I discovered this essential oil a few years back, actually, and I fell in love with its soothing, emotional, and skin promoting properties. And maybe some of you have heard of Manuka honey. The actual essential oil is just as sweet in regard to some of its benefits as well as its potential health uses that I will discuss with you today. So, as a broad overview of what we're going to be discussing, some of the topics will be Manuka's background and specifically its botanical background, the chemical makeup of Manuka oil, and how that can get a little confusing. Don't worry, we will kind of narrow that down actions of Manuka oil and the aromatherapy profile of Manuka oil, and then finally some potential uses for Manuka oil. And again, all the resources, the references, and the studies will be available in the accompanying post to this video as well as in the resource section. So let's go ahead and get started talking about Manuka or Leptospermum scoparium. And I probably slaughtered that Latin name. I'm not good at my Latin. When we talk about its botanical background, Manuka belongs to the same family as melaleuca, so it's in the myrtle family or Myrtaceae, but it's not the same species. It's a family of dicotyledon plants, and it's quite large, and it includes other well-known members that you might be familiar with, such as myrtle, clove, guana, allspice, and eucalyptus. Manuka plants are indigenous to New Zealand, and the ancient Maori people were reported to use that plant for a diverse range of ailments. These included skin aggravations, gastrointestinal upset, dental care, and immune support. And it was said that Captain James Hook actually used the tea leaves to combat scurvy in his expeditions in the Southern Hemisphere. And New Zealanders learned from this explorer and incorporated his applications of using the dried leaves of Manuka plant in beverage form. According to drugs.com, commercial development of the essential oils has actually led to a wide range of over-the-counter products that are marketed in New Zealand and exported to European and Asian markets. So if you're in the United States, you might not be as familiar with this essential oil as an ingredient as you would in those areas of the world. But the products that are used with melaleuca are for various conditions, and these include fungal and bacterial skin infections, inflammatory conditions such as from sunburn, insect bites, joint pain, eczema, or psoriasis, and they're also used in perfumes and soaps. Now, that is some of the background of Manuka oil. If we look at the chemical makeup of Manuka oil, which are the constituents found within it that can give it some of its properties, it contains over 100 constituents with 95% of its volume comprising about 50% of them. And the populations of scoparium or Manuka oil of New Zealand, they vary greatly in their chemical composition and their activity. And this is true for most other essential oils we know about, right? I've talked in various podcasts and blogs about how essential oils will have differences in the compounds found present in your particular bottle based on the plant's particular species phenotype, which means there can be variations in the genetic makeup of the plant, the chemotype, the location, the environmental conditions, the harvesting, and the distillation methods. All of these affect what compounds the plant is going to produce in their essential oils. And these species variances or polymorphisms in the makeup of the oil of Manuka result in different essential oil chemotypes. So when we're talking about chemotypes, we're talking about the actual predominant compound that's found in that particular species. So you might have heard of rosemary with a chemotype of 1,8-phenol. That's the most common, but there's also a rosemary chemotype with linalool. So the same with Manuka, there's a wide range of different chemotypes. So one chemotype, for example, could be rich in these triketones, which are noted for their antimicrobial activity. A second could contain linalool, which is often associated with lavender, and it's attributed to a soothing effect, and udinmosol. A third could be high in these pinene, which you might have heard of as phytonocides, which help our immune system and lower our cortisol or stress hormone levels. And then another chemotype could have completely different chemical compounds found in it, and none of them. So with that kept in mind, I actually found a study review that looked at different standardization, steam distillation, gas chromatography, and mass spectrometry of the essential oils of New Zealand, of the Manuka populations, and they identified various compounds. I'll just go over some of them. There were different pinenes, there were myrcenes, 1,8-phenol, linalool. There was different triketones found in them, different sesquiterpenes. And then when I looked on Aroma Web, they had some of the same compounds. There was an overlap, but not all of the same ones. And if you look at the actual accompanying article to this video, I will actually have in bold some of the ones that they found in common. The triketones, which are leptospermum, flavonensone, and isoleptospermin, and then alpha-pinene. And then there were different variances of sesquiterpenes. So there was a 2005 article in the International Journal of Aromatherapy that stated that there's been more focus on the Manuka oil, so the importance of obtaining the proper quality of the therapeutic uses, in other words, standardization, is becoming more important because more aromatherapists have been using Manuka for decades, and it's often attributed to the beta triketones for the antiseptic and antimicrobial actions of the oils. And because of the different significant geographical variations affecting the composition of these oils, they thought that it was important for aromatherapists and you to be aware of that. So Aroma Web actually recently commented on some recent developments of the commercial availability of the makeup of Manuka oils. They were finding that the ones that they were using were particularly abundant in sesquiterpenes and about 50 to 70%, and then 20% of the ketones with a single percentage of sesquiterpenols and monoterpenes. And then if we compare that to Australian tea tree essential oil, it's mostly monoterpenes and monoterpenols with a small amount of oxides. We think of 1,8-phenol. So there's various differences in them, even though they could be used for very versatile conditions. You don't have to know the biochemistry. The basic bottom line is there's a lot of different variants in the chemical makeup of Manuka, and mostly sesquiterpenes and triketones. Those chemical compounds are what people attribute to some of the actions that they enjoy with their Manuka oil. If we look at the variances of compounds, the species actually has some in vitro and in vivo studies supporting the actions of the oil being antimicrobial, antiviral, antifungal, photoprotective of the skin. This was a mouse study, repelling different pests, anti-inflammatory, antispasmodic, and supporting dental health. If we look at the aromatherapy profile of Manuka oil, there was an excerpt from Salvatore Battaglia, who is a very famous clinical aromatherapist. And he talked about how von Barschwig, another famous person in aromatherapy, says that Manuka oil is a protective oil similar to what we would think of as myrrh and cedarwood. And it's actually the sesquiterpenes in it can help stabilize and protect the nervous system and balance the sympathetic and parasympathetic nerves. And it stated that Manuka's vitalizing scent is well suited for gentle souls who express themselves through sensitive skin or frequent digestive upsets. So people who have emotional issues that come out in skin issues or digestive issues, Manuka might be a good aroma to smell. So based on the chemical constituents that are found in Manuka oil and from various studies, from the research, from the fact that there were traditional uses and OTC uses, and if we compile that with the fact that oftentimes triketones, which are the antimicrobial parts, as well as the sesquiterpenes, which are the nervous soothing, system soothing parts, are in the essential oil, some of the potential uses for Manuka could be for infections, respiratory issues, skin problems and irritations, pest control, inflammatory conditions, emotional stability, and then calming the nervous system. So summing it all up about this New Zealand tea tree oil, Manuka essential oil is getting more attention, and it's based on its diverse and unique range of chemical compounds. It's known for its microbe inhibiting triketones, but it also consists of various constituents that have been traditionally used for soothing skin issues, aiding digestion, alleviating infections, and supporting dental health. Commercial products in New Zealand and preclinical studies have validated many of these uses. Today, many aromatherapists are in favor of its pleasing and calming aroma and skin rejuvenating properties. And then, as more is being revealed about Manuka oil, I'm sure that many New Zealand people will be vindicated for favoring their tea tree oil as a similar versatile powerhouse as what we know as our Australian tea tree oil. I'd love to hear from you if you've ever used Manuka oil and what your experience is with Manuka. And I'd also love to hear about your experience. Go ahead and post your comments in the comment section. And I want to thank you for taking the time to learn about Manuka oil and the science and applications of essential oils to better care for your body, mind, and soul. Please do make sure to check out all of the additional resources that I have on essential oils and mind body medicine in the resource section.